right, greetings, nerds. Welcome back to the second half of our conversation and the debate half of our conversation between Pokemon and Digimon. Andrew's winning by 0 made up points. Anthony just has already conceded. That happened off camera. He's sad about it, but Andrew's happy. I've gotten an upgrade. I found my Vmon pin, so he's going to give me special powers to be able to win the episode. I think. Probably not, but a man can hope, right? So, with that, let's just dive right back in. I'm turning over my host powers back to Tyler. Tyler, take it away. Let's have this debate.
All right. Well, thank you, nerds, for joining us back again today after that very brief couple of minute introduction that we had there. So now that everybody is primed and they understand everybody's background and experience with their respective series, we're going to dive into this debate headfirst. So, Anthony, we're going to kick it off with you. And the first question of this debate, and I really hope you know your stuff and that you come out swinging. What do the mainline Pokemon games do best, and specifically, what do they do better than Digimon?
Okay. So I think the original. You said the original mainline games, right? The first generation.
Do- doesn't even have to be the first generation, just the
Oh,
mainline
just
in
mainline.
general.
Okay. I think one thing that they do very best, or that they do best, is the consistency from the story. That any random person can come in and pick up a game, and they know that they have to explore some localized region and travel with their starter Pokemon and defeat some story that the game has kind of laid out. I think they consistently repeat that same storyline, which could get boring from the people that have been in the game for a while. But it does allow for new people that haven't ever explored the game to come into any game and be dropped in and be able to play it without having to have any prior experience into any of the previous games. Uh,
Can I interject there? Digimon does the same. Any Digimon game you pick up, the reason you're going to pick it up is because you're a fan of Digimon or you want to try
But
it.
what you said before in the games is that there's so much different chaotics, and that you don't even know how to level up and improve
That's every
your
one of the Digimon
creatures.
games. I hate to say it, but every one of them you get into, it is a confusion of how do I level up in this one? How do I figure out what to do in this one? And a prime example of that is there's a very different game from their mainline series. Now, I know the question's the mainline series. Digimon Survive. It is a turn based tactical RPG in the sense of you're using the world and your environment and different levels of height as part of your movement. It teaches you new mechanics because of your movement speeds and because of what your limitations are there. How you digivolve is 100% dependent on your story interactions, and the game teaches you that. For the mainline Digimon game, what it does is it shows you what are the requirements to digivolve to this one. Here's all the requirements I need. And because each game handles its mechanics a little bit different, Digimon's story, Cyber Sleuth, and Hacker's Memory has one set of mechanics that is different from the one I mentioned in the last half of our conversation, but you learn those through exploring and playing the games just the same as you did with this. Now, Pokemon, you know Charizard is going to become or Charmeleon is going to become Charizard at what, level 34,
36.
36? Okay? Every single game. What level I am does vary somewhat in a Digimon game, but it's defined and taught to you early enough that you can understand what to do for that game.
And I do think that is probably a better quality of life than what Pokemon does, because besides the ones that are going to evolve at some predefined level, which you may or may not know if you haven't played the game,
Right.
there are some very difficult to obtain Pokemon that you wouldn't even know how to evolve it unless you Googled it. And if you were playing in the time pre-internet era, you may have not been able to evolve it at all if you didn't have any friends.
I never did.
So I do think that there is some plus and minuses to the quality of life of Pokemon, but I think one of the things that they set just is the baseline of a story that someone can be dropped in without having any prior knowledge, and it will be very repeatable after they played that first game.
Yeah, I do think the simplicity of Pokemon is one of its biggest strengths. You know,
Agreed.
I say that
Agreed.
as somebody who is now in their 30s and has played multiple hours of mini games where, yes, at a certain point, that simplicity does get to a point where it's a hindrance because it is so simple and it prevents a certain level of depth to the mechanics.
Right.
But on the whole, I think it's a absolute positive, and I think it has it's a huge factor into why Pokemon has had such staying power, is because every new generation of games that comes out, the 5 and 6 year old kids are screaming for it for Christmas, and every one of them just flies off the shelves no matter what. And it's because it is so simple and it's so consistent, like you said, that you can just give it to those young kids and they're not going to get bored after 5-10 minutes because they don't know what the heck to do.
Yep. And if I can, my counterpoint to that, and why I think Digimon's mainline games are better, and I've got the trump card, and I'll save that for a moment. The mainline Digimon games are better, my opinion, because they don't hold your hand as much. Because we've all grown up, so have the games. Not just the characters in the games, but the games are a little bit more complex. Pokemon can be complex because of all the different types, the type matchups. You know, you got your 18 types, and a Pokemon can have one or two types, and then it going up against something else, it's got different. You know, that type chart can get confusing. Digimon's is worse because you have attributes and types, and those things are different charts, and the way those charts interact is different. And every Digimon might have a move that is kind of stab, but it may not, and so it just makes that confusing. But that's something that I think makes Digimon so good for its mainline games, is that it doesn't hold your hand in that way, and it's not something that is just so brand new. So people who want that little bit of an extra challenge to their Pokemon game can try a Digimon game and go, there is enough familiar here that I understand what it's looking for, but there's enough that's new that I'm not feeling like I'm playing the same game over and over again. Now, that being said, I genuinely cannot wait for both of these new games coming out for different reasons. And one of the reasons I'm excited for the Pokemon game is because they are trying a new mechanic in it. And there's going to be some new Pokemon that we don't even know about yet. And that's the part of it that's always exciting and fun for me, is let me try these new worlds, let me try these new ones with familiar characters, but potentially some new ones for me to fall in love with. Like one of my favorite Pokemon today is one that I wouldn't know about if I wasn't playing somewhat modern games, you know, and that's okay. That's kind of part of the whole shtick. But the reason the mainline series of Digimon is better than Pokemon, voice acting.
Yeah,
The
that's a pretty hard one to. Yeah,
the
can't
mainline
really argue that one.
Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory had Japanese voice acting for their main dialogue with English translations. Do you know what Time Story or Time Stranger is going to have? American English voice actors on top of the Japanese actors as well.
Now, am I imagining that?
Probably.
Didn't they also have English voice actors in Digimon World Next Order? Or am I totally
I
misremembering?
think Next Order did. I think Next Order did, but I never played that one because its
Yeah.
style was just slightly different. And
Oh yeah, it's much more of a like open world pet simulator
right,
than like RPG battler.
right. And even Digimon Survive had voice acting, but it was all Japanese. And that one, it needed the voice acting, and I really wish they would have done it in English because I would have enjoyed it just like that much more because it was more story driven. I didn't want to read my video.
I mean that game was borderline a visual novel.
It was a visual novel with a little bit of combat, and I'm like sitting here going, God, get me back to the combat. That's the fun part of this game because that's what I wanted in my game. But that's
Oh, Digimon meets Persona.
hmm but there's your trump card of why Digimon wins this round is I've got
Which
voice acting.
Which I would agree that voice acting is great. Which one of the mobile apps that I play, Pokemon Masters EX, has voice acting for the
No, no,
characters,
no. Sorry,
although it
sorry. We're
is.
keeping it to mainline games here. Sorry.
Oh well, I know. So I'm using that just as to say what I'm trying to allude to is that it wouldn't be as difficult to have some parity amongst kind of the that voice acting lines that you can translate over to these games,
Yeah.
and I don't even think that it's an issue with um, Game Freak, which is the company that produces Pokemon. I think it is Nintendo because Game Freak recently released this new game that isn't even Pokemon based, and it looks so good.
So good.
It's 3D high resolution graphics.
What game is this?
Um, I don't have the name. I
Pulling it up.
maybe Andrew can look it up, but it looks so good. It shows you that Game Freak, if they weren't being held back by Nintendo, could do so much for Pokemon. So I think because they try to tailor the game towards children and they know that they can sell a simple game, they don't put as much effort because they've shown even with as much little effort, look at Scarlet and Violet and the rendering problems that they've had, people will buy it. People will eat
Yeah.
it up. They don't have to do much effort and people will just continue to support them. So, yes, I would agree that from the, quality of life, the gameplay mechanics, that Digimon probably has better things that you just mentioned, but I don't think it's due to the fact that Nintendo or Pokemon couldn't add it. I think they're just preventing, Pokemon from being as good as it should be. Um,
I will second that notion. Tyler, I just sent you the text of the trailer for that game. It is called Beast of Reincarnation. If you remember
Interesting.
the Studio Ghibli movie Princess Mononoke with
Yeah.
the forest spirit, it quite literally looks like they've made a forest spirit that you have to interact with, and it looks better
Interesting.
than Wukong did as like an adventure type
Whoa,
RPG. Yeah,
yeah, it
dude.
looks
this
so
is
good,
Game Freak.
Holy cow.
and
This looks incredible.
Uh-huh.
exactly. So I don't think that, Pokemon is being limited by Game Freak. I think it's purely
Agreed.
Nintendo
Agreed.
that is preventing them
Man,
from being great.
first comment on that link that you just sent me is I forgot Game Freak isn't owned by Nintendo until I saw
The
this.
number of people who watched this trailer blind and we're sitting there watching it like, wow, what is this? Wow, what is this? Game Freak? Game Freak did this? No, not Game Freak. They can't make a game like this. And we're like, yep, yep, that was Game Freak.
Dude, this looks unreal.
Well, it was made on Unreal 5.
Oh my god, shut up.
Which that's a whole other debate that I can even go in on Unreal games and just rendering.
Unreal
But
games.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I had to. The moment was there. But yeah, I agree with you, Anthony, that and I think that's one reason that I like Digimon is that it's not hindered by Nintendo trying to keep it for kids. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of like if we didn't have the Pokemon games the way they are, I don't think the Digimon games would have pushed themselves to get better. Like, maybe.
So it's reversed. It's another high voted comment. Game Freak had to make it clear that they're not the problem.
Whoopsie. Well, here, let me harken back to something. If one of my listeners remembers, when I did the episode with Derek on video game consoles, I talked about me not being a big fan of Nintendo. And I didn't like a lot of their consoles and systems because I wasn't as interested in their games. And there's nothing wrong with their games. Zelda games are good, Mario games are good, Donkey Kong games are good, Kirby games are good, but they don't change that much. They stay pretty consistent.
they lock down to their IP very heavily. And one thing that you'll notice is that people that make, emulated games and ROMs, they create better designs than some of the Pokemon designers and
Because
some
they're
of the
doing it
other
out of
Mario
love.
designers for the platformer games.
Yeah.
And it's because they have the liberty of open creativity.
Right. Right.
And I think one way that Nintendo could, improve is, let open source some aspect of the design to fans, and then they approve it so that other people can enjoy some of these
Yep.
games, you know. And if it doesn't pass approval, then that just means that, you know, maybe there's something you did that could, you know, go through a little bit more cycles of, you know, polish, and then maybe it could be improved later down the line. Not only would then they allow the ideas to flow more amongst the rest of the fandoms, they might be able to incorporate some of them. You know, if they, you know, it's like, okay, well, what did you do to render this, you know, in that quality? It's like, can we use that in our stuff because we're letting you use our IP? You know, they're able to then, you know, open source the idea without having to lock down the games. You know, and then, you know, there's a lot more people that if they, you know, set their mind to it and develop, that, you know, if Nintendo's like, well, we only have a year to design this or 2 years to design it, and so we want to keep it simple. Well, if you open it up to the community, there's plenty of people that will put in the hours to ensure that
Right.
the game will run as best as it will be.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I think we would all agree that we would happily wait 4, 5, 6 years between entries if we got a well developed, well polished,
Yeah.
deep
Oh yeah.
experience that evolves upon and innovates upon what's come before it rather than this just copy paste, plug and chug, pump one out
do
every
you
year.
do you know why that they're set on this cycle of like 2 3 years? Is because they're actually following the cards. The cards make so much money that they essentially have to make sure that they're ready for production at a certain state so that everything for their merchandise is all coming out at the same time. So because of that, they can't wait longer than, you know, whatever duration they can have because it's a manufacturing problem at that point. So it's
Okay,
like,
so they start planning the card set and give that a release date, and that ultimately sets the game release date,
yep.
whether that's enough time for ample
and
development
and
or
they
not.
can wait with the anime and the show because that, you know, they can say, oh, we're taking a like a 2 week hiatus to like build more episodes, but they have their buffer, right? They already have so many episodes, so if something happens they can give themselves some time. But yes, the cards essentially dictate what's happening, which is crazy because it's only so that they can keep in line all of their merchandise. Because what happens if they release the packs and the game isn't out yet? Now people are seeing new Pokemon that, but the thing is
Spoilers,
like,
yeah.
okay,
So
they did
very
that so
simple
many times
solution.
in the first generation where you went to the Mewtwo's first movie and you saw Donphan, you were like,
Yeah.
what is
Because
that?
that movie was setting us up for the next season. But here's a
Yes.
very easy solution. You don't even start printing cards until the game's trailer has been made. And I know that from a card development methodology, and I've talked with Chris about this for Magic especially, because that's the one I know the best. They've been developing the Avatar: The Last Airbender set for the last like 3 or 4 years. They knew the Magic the Gathering Avatar: The Last Airbender set was coming out. And I can understand the manufacturing process takes time. To Tyler's point, do not rush the games. Don't try and force a new game to come out until you have it pretty well polished, then start making cards.
Exactly.
And
I
it's
mean,
hard to do that,
look at Zelda games. They wait
right?
like six,
Because
seven
they don't have the
years
card
for a new
system or
story
the
because there's
anime.
nothing else tied to it.
Exactly. I know.
And it's like, and then you get a good, decent. Most of the Zelda games are their unique storyline. Besides the, you know, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, because they're, you know, part of the same, you know, timeline. Most of the other games are their own independent game, and they're, yeah, probably released 7 or
Right.
X years after the fact of the previous game. So I agree. I think Pokemon just needs to quit trying to fit everything in this like 2 3 year time frame just from a manufacturing standpoint, and then take the time that's needed in order to
Yeah.
perfect the game.
So it sounds like, Andrew, your answer to what does Digimon do better than Pokemon is they don't tie their game to a card system.
I mean, they've got plenty of Digimon that they need to pump cards to. But yeah, it's not. Let's crank out a new one real quick because, like I said, Cyber Sleuth came out 10 years ago, and since
Yeah,
then we've had
2017.
two. I mean, Hacker's Memory came out just right after, in 2017. I think Cyber Sleuth was 2015.
Okay.
Hacker's Memory was like 2 years after. Survive and the other one that you mentioned are like the only two.
Yeah, Digimon World Next Order.
Those are like the only two Digimon game we've truly had
Yeah,
since
which those were
totally different
they
games.
may have been the same developer, but they were totally different
Totally
games,
different.
totally different
Yep.
systems,
Everything.
mechanics,
Everything.
genres,
Yeah.
really.
And that's okay. There was enough.
You know, that would be like, to Anthony's point, that'd be like getting a mainline Pokemon game and then like a mystery
Right.
dungeon and Pokken
And
Tournament.
yeah, yeah, all different.
Like
And if that's all we
totally
had
different
had,
things. The development of one
right.
doesn't even impact the
If
other.
that's all we had had since Sword and Shield, because I think we've had a dungeon and the Pokken tournament since Sword and Shield, right? Is that right?
I don't think we've had a mystery dungeon
I thought there was a new one that came
since.
out on the Switch,
Well, I think you're right. Actually, there is
and
a
there was a
GX
Detective
one on the
Pikachu.
Switch, but I don't know how it ties into the other one.
But the point
Um,
I'm making is, had we gone from Sword and Shield and had Detective Pikachu, the Pokken tournament, and the Mystery Dungeon game re-release, whatever it is, and nothing else mainline, and we're just now getting a ZA or heck even Legends Arceus, I think either one of those games would have been refined to a T. And then you could have had Generation 9 and done Scarlet and Violet in another 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
which what's crazy is that they're already talking about Gen 10,
Exactly. We're already coming
and
up on the end of Gen 9 and it's hardly begun.
it's like
It's crazy.
this is yeah, it's crazy.
Other than that, the only other thing I would say to maybe close out this question is more adult themes across your games. Digimon, again, like I said, it's a more adult game. Those are usually rated T for teen, not E for everyone. And there are more adult themes. Now, sometimes those more adult themes are because it's Japanese women drawn in certain ways. Sometimes it's because there's like legit murder happening. But
So which kind of I wanted to add a point to that, which is to what Pokemon does best and better than Digimon
mhm,
on this. And could be conflicting based on what preference and design, but you know Pokemon, most of their evolutions stay pretty close to the design of what they're laid out to be.
mhm,
You know, and that kind of gives some cohesion to kind of like the monsters per se that we were discussing. Whereas like Digimon can be very confusing from the sense of just design because you get just random things that you get from the evolution. Now there is a chain of that you could follow and you could look at the graph of what it's supposed to become based on certain things, but it's still confusing just from looking at it from
Anthony,
someone that's never really played the game.
it's not a
You
graph. I hate to tell you, it's not a graph.
Oh yeah, it's a spider
I
web.
was gonna say a spaghetti diagram is probably a better way to look
okay?
at it. But no, I get what you're saying, and I will agree that that can be a very confusing point. Someone who knows enough about it, I'm gonna go in looking for a certain baby Pokemon or rookie Pokemon that's gonna go to training level 1, that's gonna go to training level 2, that's gonna actually start looking like the thing I want, just because I know what I'm looking for. But I would almost also say that that's something that's kind of fascinating about Digimon, is because at its core your things don't just go up, they do go up and down. I can take one baby form Digimon, and if I do my planning correctly, I can go fully up a chain one way and down another chain and hit a different baby Pokemon. And then back up the chain and hit some other ultimate Pokemon. Some other ultimate Digimon and then back down, and I can hit every single Digimon if I do my chain correctly.
Yeah, no, and I think that part is cool from the being able to downgrade and then have some similarity that gets you to a different part of the chain. But I think just from the design standpoint of it being like now you have a humanoid when you just had something else in the direct line versus it being you had to downgrade to something else and then get there is kind of like okay, that doesn't even make sense
Well, I mean,
of what it.
I'll give you a good example that I agree with, and I, one that I think counters your point are kind of some of the main ones of Agumon and Gabumon. Their evolutions are pretty well. Oh, I can see where
No,
they got
that line is pretty solid. I
both of those.
actually
Yeah,
like that line.
both of those you could be like, oh, Agumon went to Greymon, Greymon went to War Greymon, Gore to Metal. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Um, is it Demi Devimon, the little flying black devil? Then becomes Devimon, which looks like Dracula, which then becomes basically a badass guy in leather with guns. And you're like, wait a second, how? This didn't.
I see no problems.
or
Well,
or Gatomon,
It's just the evolution of vampire fiction over
well,
time,
there's some of them where
right?
they're
You
just
you
completely.
start with like the creepy little vampire bats that started all the myths, then you get Dracula, and then you go like full on hardcore 90s goth blade
oh yeah,
style punk
yeah,
vampire with
it's done.
guns.
Which the weapons isn't even a problem because you see a lot of weapons being added just there's some kind of similarity, right? That's fine. I think it's more of where the designs are disjointed. It's like you had a humanoid, now you are a serpent of some sort, or it's
Yeah, okay, explain Patamon to
I was
Angemon.
just thinking that one. Patamon to Angemon,
You have a hamster with wings for ears that becomes a literal angel.
or or Gatomon, which is a cat that becomes Anguamon, which is a female angel.
yeah.
I'll grant you those. I'll grant you those.
So just from that
Uh,
design standpoint, I don't think that there's some good cohesion from the design. I do think it's great from the being able to have a chain that you could go backwards and then find a new kind of form. I think that's really cool. I think
Some of it, and this is kind of buried deep, 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 deep in the lore of Digimon, not necessarily in any one game. The reason every one of them ends in Mon is because that's their file name. Since they are digital creatures, ending in MON,
so they're all .mon
essentially
is
they're all
their.
.mon files.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know
So it's
that.
like Agu and Kabu and Pada Mon,
Yeah,
and that's their file name. So that's why
I
you
like
can
that.
like change the file a little bit.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's like in the Mega Man Battle Network series. All of the characters are .exe
Right. And
because they're.
they've never
Yeah. All right. So we've kind of already. I want to jump in here and do my job as a moderator because I haven't been just letting things go completely off the
you're
rails.
doing great.
But we kind of actually already just organically steered the conversation in towards the next question. So rather than having you each answer your own perspective, I want this one to be an open discussion between the two of y'all taking turns.
Uh-oh.
Which franchise has the best or coolest or most powerful lineup of creatures?
Digimon.
I will take the L on this because you're telling me poor, you know, Pokemon have to take on some monster with weapons. You're gonna kill it.
Not even that. Not even that. If you guys remember, there was epic battles or something. Not the epic rap battles of history, but there was like a YouTube series.
Death battle.
Death Battle.
Death
Yes. You
battle.
know the one I'm talking about, Tyler.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen this one, Anthony, I'll send it to you. It was a death battle where they would talk about two different entities and talk about their power lists and power sets and like what made each one so great, and then they pit them against each other. Okay, well they did one of Tai and Agumon versus Red and Charmander. And then they always do like a fun animation talking about the two. And I think they did one for, was it like Goku versus Superman, which was really cool. But the problem that Agumon and Tai ran into is not really a problem for them, but it was more a problem for Ash and Charizard. Is at one point Tai just runs up and punches Ash in the face. While Red is like sitting there giving his commands to Charizard, telling him to use flamethrower or whatever, Ty just runs up and punches Red in the face because that's what would happen in a Digimon world is that your tamers have no control over the powers that the Digimon have. The Digimon are just doing their thing because they're fighting and that's what they know how to do. The tamer's just there as like the person who's lending the courage or lending the hope or lending the friendship to them to enable them to get bigger and better and stronger. And then going to punch the other guy in the face because he's also human. So
But yeah, no, I don't think Pokemon has a chance when we're talking about going against each other, just from the weapon standpoint alone. I mean,
even if you take the weapons out of it, so many of the different Digimon become gods, essentially, that their power creep is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you look at Pokemon and it's like, ooh, wow, look, a fire breathing dragon, and then you go over to Digimon and it's like, he just shot a literal nuclear missile.
Right.
I think that beats a fire breathing dragon.
And even then, if I am to compare Charmander to Agumon, okay, those are comparable. And I know, Tyler, this is something you do want to get into in a moment of a fight between whatever. If I'm to say Agumon versus Charmander, comparable fight. Agumon goes up once to Greymon, he's destroying Charmander, he's destroying Charmeleon, and he's going to have a hard fight against a Charizard. So Pokemon had to train to get up all of these extra levels outside of battle to be able to hit that next level. Whereas if my Agumon has been properly trained and has the proper connection with me, I'm taking him to a Greymon and stepping on your Charmander, and then it's game over. Just like that, no problem.
Yeah,
Even still, say I start with a Greymon versus your Charizard, and maybe your Charizard has Mega Evolution, so it can Digivolve for a moment. Okay, my Agumon, now Greymon, has 2 more power levels it can go up to where it will
which is
drop a
broken.
on Charizard. And that's just
Yeah,
one
once it
step.
leaves the Greymon, it is broken.
Yeah, you go to War Greymon. Yeah, War Greymon, and that thing is a beast. That would go toe to toe with Charizard X or Charizard Y, Mega Charizard X or Charizard Y. But when he's starting to get his butt kicked again, he's going to go up to a Metal Greymon. You're done. It's over. You're cooked. You're not doing anything because I've got weapons out the wazoo. I'm going to charge up a giant energy beam, kind of like a spirit bomb, and just drop it on Mega Charizard. And then Ash is dead, and Charizard's sitting there sad because it can't do anything because his trainer's dead.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
And then we go Omnimon just for the
Yeah,
lulz.
yeah. Omnimon just shows up, and then the cinders that was Ash and the now crying Charizard just get completely obliterated.
Yep.
Sorry, Charizard. I love you.
So, all right, on to the next one then. Outside of the video games, or let's say outside of the video games and the animes, since those are such a common aspect of experiencing these series, what is the coolest thing outside of those realms that your franchise has done that you think it makes it sets it apart from the other?
I'll start. Pokemon Go. It released in 2016, and to this day, people are still playing it in crazy numbers. They allowed people to start joining in a small community, actually explore the real world. So it's kind of like, taking digital to, reality. And then they just added interaction to it. And I think that's one of the coolest things that they added. It's it's creative because you can now tie those Pokemon to the games, and you can actually import, Pokemon. One thing that because they did this, it did kind of break the whole shiny stuff because you can get shiny so much easier in the games that people are like, "Where'd you get it? Like, did you actually hunt for this, or did you get it in the other game?" Which is, I
Okay,
think,
but on in
now they
that,
started adding tags to the Pokemon.
I'll say on that note, how easy is it to get a darn shiny in Scarlet and Violet today?
It's really easy. You can
Especially
get
on a
up
Switch too.
to, I think you can even with the shiny whatever the charm, you can get it in a 180 odds. So
Crazy.
even 180 encounters is
It's
crazy.
just crazy.
Um,
It's nothing. I watched
so
a
it's
video
like
of a guy getting, how many hundred did he get? I think he got like 200 of them in a day, in a 24-hour period. And it was right around the time of the Porygon event where they're like, here, they're in mass outbreak. They're going to be all over the place. Yeah, he found a spot between 2 mass outbreaks and just kept running between the two of them. And so it would respawn all of them over here. Nope, not a shiny. Respawn over here. Yep, there's a shiny. Respawn over here. Oh, there's 2 shiny. And it's just back. And I'm like, all right, we've killed the shinies. It's too
That's
easy. It's
crazy.
too easy.
Which, they tried introducing the mechanics of these rare shinies in Sword and Shield with the square sprites, but they messed up. They inverted the code, so the square shinies are actually the same as what your regular shinies are, and your regular shiny is the rare odds. But what's really stupid is the color scheme's the same.
Yeah.
You would think that they would change the coloring, fix the ones where they messed up. Be like, okay, we messed up. We didn't change its color palette at all. And it's like, let's fix this and do something like that. No,
Nope.
it's like, okay,
Nope.
forget the whole fact that you messed up with the odds. Like, fix something.
Right.
But yeah, I think Pokemon Go is probably one of the coolest things they've done recently.
And I will also add for Pokemon, besides its card game, besides its anime, or not besides card game, it has the card game. So besides its mainline video games, besides its anime, you do have the card game that is pretty darn popular for Pokemon. And not
Yeah,
just
I
Pokemon
mean
Go, but
it's
all the other apps they've got. Like, what's the one that you do where it's like just a pack of collecting
It's
cards?
a Pocket TCG, so you essentially
Right.
open digital cards
Yeah.
that are only digital. They will never be released in real life,
Right.
and it's another aspect of it. And they're free,
Yeah.
so you don't have to spend any money. You can for more, but you don't have to.
Right. So I'll concede. I'm going to concede this point to Anthony because all I can really come up with for the cooler things the franchise kind of that it has are the movies, but they're just like extensions of the anime. And really, even then, it's only the most recent like 6 or 7 movies that have been continuations of the stories from the original anime. Which, while cool, it's just more anime, so it doesn't really
Mhm.
break that cycle. And the only other thing I can really bring to light, like I said, there is the card game that's still going. It's got an app coming. It's not out yet. So until it comes out, I can't really speak to that saying it's cool. I've only got model kits. I've only got these really nice high detail model kits of some of our favorite Digimon. You know, I've got a lapel pin.
Hey, as a semi-obsessed Gunpla fan, all right, really cool high-end model kits. That's definitely a point. All right.
Yes, I win. But no, I will agree, and this is one of the challenges of being a Digimon fan is there's not as much extra stuff out there because it's not as widely loved. Pokemon has its cult following because of the cutesy monsters and its simplicity.
Doesn't Pokemon have a theme park
It
somewhere?
has got a
Yeah,
theme park that is
in
being
Japan.
Like
opened. It's being
like a
built.
Pokemon
Uh-huh.
Land?
It's being built, and I want to go. You guys want to go? Let's go to
Yep.
Japan.
Let's
We
do
should
it.
we
Out.
should
We'll make it
plan a
happen.
Let's
Japan
just
trip. That
camp
would be
out right
fun.
now and wait.
Bachelor party. Let's go.
Anthony, hurry up. So that's it. That's all I've got is model kits.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. I think we know what the clear answer is there. So, all right. So now we've got a real meaty one here. If you could each choose, Anthony, one Pokemon, and Andrew, one Digimon, and have your choices battle each other, who would you choose and who wins?
I have to let Anthony go first to determine the scale level of my Digimon. Kind of like the conversation we were just having of Digimon's power levels too great. And Anthony,
Well,
I've got like
I think
3
you should stick
options.
to. I think you should stick to the champion level, like we were having a discussion
Okay.
prior to the
Okay. I'll stick to
discussion. So,
champions.
but I'm gonna let you go first so that I you don't get to just try to one up me since you already have the upper scale anyways. I have to be able to, and I don't even know most of the Digimon, so you could probably
So
pick
I could make
one
up
of them,
one and
and I
just
may
tell
not
you
even
it
know.
and you would never know. I'll be fair. I'm not going to pick Gatomon because that's probably the weakest of the champion levels. I was about to say it just to be funny, but no, I'm not going to do that. Um, if I'm to pick one to bring to a fight, and see, this is where it's kind of weird because my brain wants to say something like if I was coming to a fight with Anthony knowing he was going to pick a Pokemon, I would want to bring and this isn't my answer, but here's my logic. I want to bring Vmon because he's got 3 Digi-Eggs and 2 different evolution lines that I could pick from depending on what the situation is of what we need to respond to whatever you're bringing.
So here's one question I want to counter with.
Okay.
Since those evolutionary lines, even though it is part of its form of way of evolving, requires an external item, do we care about that?
It's just my one Digi device because once I've got the egg, it's downloaded to the Digi device and I've got multiple eggs on the device and I get to choose the one per the situation. So, unlike your held items of Pokemon, I've got my options of three different Digi Eggs. And technically, there are some games or manga that it's like every Digi Egg, every Digimon can evolve against, or like certain ones can evolve against all of them. And there are charts for that, which are just pretty crazy. But to keep it simple, I'm going to go with the three that are in the anime. But that still, it doesn't fairly answer the question because you're only bringing one Pokemon. I'm going to bring
Yeah, you have to pick
my one
one.
Digimon that's already at its champion level, and I'm picking XVmon.
Okay, and that what is the XVmon? Is
XVmon is like the sleek version of Vmon, but
here,
a
let me
little bit
look it up.
more dragon like.
Gotta look it up just so I can know.
Here, here, here.
XVmon.
You see my screen?
Okay, and that's is that its just normal form, or did you have to use a dragon egg
Nope, that's
or
it.
an egg for it?
At a point in the anime, once all the things are gone, Vmon can become an XVmon.
Okay,
And
so
he does
that's
have
its
wings. You
normal
can't, I don't know if
kind
you
of
can
what
see him.
you would call normal
That's
evolution
a
if there's
normal
nothing
stage
else
up.
attached
Mm-hmm.
to it.
Yep.
Okay. Um, which you probably already saw this coming,
Porygon.
but I'm gonna have to go with Porygon 2.
Oh my gosh, he brought Porygon? What?
And you said we are wait, did we say we are allowing held items for Pokemon or no?
It depends on the context of our battle. I would say that held items can be there because it kind of gives you a bit of an advantage. But then, see, this makes me start to question power level scaling. And I'm curious, why two and not three?
Because if I can, well, that's why
I
I was
guess
asking this
C,
other question.
technically.
So if I'm allowed held items, a Porygon 2 with Eviolite is basically damn near indestructible because its special defense and defense become stupid high, and if I have recover, uh, it's something crazy. Then I could use its special ability to where it's either download
Hmm.
or adaptability, or I could even do trace because trace allows me to copy your abilities. Um, and then so I have whatever you abilities you some happen to have, which I know it's weird in the sense of Pokemon and Digimon, but all Digimon are code, and Porygon is literally the definition of a computer code. So regardless, I'm able to copy anything that you could do regarding its traceability.
Anything you can do, I could do better. I could
Um,
do anything
and
better than
then
you.
because I would give it the special defense boost, its attack is already pretty good. If I give it like something like nasty plot and then a special attack move, it's pretty OP. Especially if I use like hyper beam and then stab, you know. Um, so that was the only reason that I would choose two if I'm allowed an Eviolite. If I'm not allowed an Eviolite and have to do it raw, Porygon Z has crazy speed and just special attack. It's the special defense and defense is okay. It's not tanky like two, uh,
So,
but it still has all the other abilities.
which defense stat is stronger for Porygon 2? Is it
They're
special or
both
physical?
they're both pretty equal.
How high are we
That's what I'm saying.
talking
Like
in the scheme of things?
I think its special defense is a lot higher,
Let me
but
look it up on my Pokedex.
they're both pretty high up, which is why the Eviolite is just crazy.
So a standard base stat for Porygon 2, defense is 90, special defense is 95, special attacks 105. Speed's only a 60.
Yeah, its speed is horrendous, which is why the only thing is like if I need to map my moves to make sure
Mm.
because I could trick room the whole situation and just invert speed. But I just need to map the moves. It just determines how I want to. Two is crazy. Like if you've never ran with a two, I would recommend doing one with a two at some point. Z is absurd because you're just gonna destroy everything. Like if you're just want, it's fast, you know.
But that's the
But
only
in a
thing it really has for it is its speed is only a 90 and its special attack is a 135.
yeah, but if you use something like Choice Scarf where it boosts its speed and then it basically allow you can only use one move, but if it's already like just hitting like a tank, you just hyper beam stab. and on choice scarf, and you're just destroying everything.
So
So does hyper beam still require
It
a
does.
turn to charge up?
It does require a turn to charge, but you could with a Porygon Z, you could then balance it out with like recover or something else to like really hold you off, or even protect. Um, but yeah, you do have to basically sacrifice a turn. If you don't want to use Hyper Beam, there's other moves that are still high up. Like you can do Tri Attack, which has a pretty high, you know, power. I think it's 80, and you have the chance of inflicting either a burn, freeze, or paralysis. So, um, it's still pretty good. You could even do some. There's some other moves that are crazy as well, but it just a turn. I can't go wrong with either one. I think if we're allowing items, I'll do two. If not, I'll use Z.
so then here's where
Regardless,
it gets
it's gonna be
confusing.
hard.
How do we compare which one's going to win? Because I would say you'd almost have to create stats for XVmon that are comparable to a Charizard.
Well, hang
But
on.
if I'm going just
We're
it depends on
we're not gonna argue stats
great,
and probability. No, this
great.
is a schoolyard
Digimon, I win.
playground.
I'm
Who who beats who because the lasers are bigger and everybody knows that red lasers do more damage than blue
all right. You want
lasers.
that? Great. Here we go. I've got wings. I'm flying in stupid fast, faster than your Porygon can blink. I'm picking that thing up and I'm throwing it at so far away.
I'm I'm technically can go between space time if we consider what it is. So I could just
If we consider what
nuke
it is a
something.
physical creature in the world of Pokemon. I don't care that it's made up of code. It is a physical creature in the world of Pokemon.
It literally in the entry says it can go between the both worlds.
And at
So
what
I can
point
go
have you
between
ever
digital world
seen
and
no, no, at
non-digital
what point
world.
have you ever seen a Porygon in the anime or in the games go between worlds?
In the anime, it was only in the virtual world, digital
Okay,
world,
great.
and then they
Welcome to
got
my world. Welcome
banned.
to my pain. You're coming to my domain, to the digital world, and you're gonna fight me? I got you. Oh, we're gonna fight in the human world? Great, my Digimon can exist there too. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but I'm both the host and the basically the the code itself.
I've got
So
giant claws. I've got giant teeth. I'm
I
shooting
feel like I
fire
can
blasts.
corrupt you.
You can't corrupt it. He's incorruptible. He's such a pure character. He's got a pure
But
heart.
what if he gives you seizures?
You know what? That's a risk I'm willing to take. Vmon and XVmon are just dumb enough in their courage. He'll close his eyes as he flies in at this thing, so he doesn't see it, and just open his mouth and hope he chomp down on it. And he's gonna have Ty over to the side going, "You missed. Go again." I'm winning. I'm gonna destroy this thing. I'm gonna eat it, chew it up, and spit it back out.
Interesting.
You're gonna sit
Do
there
you
and
have
try
any
and
counters,
shock me.
Anthony?
I
Great.
mean, besides just saying that I'm gonna just
Vmon uses
send
electric moves
nukes
too.
at it through hyper beams and a bunch of
Swallow your
stuff.
hyper beams up.
I mean, maybe.
Not really, actually. No, he can't do that. He's gonna have to dodge those. But that's the thing. In a Pokemon battle, your Porygon's waiting on you to tell it, dodge that move, and it has to be able to react accordingly. Or even if we look at the new battle system that's coming out in Legends ZA, you have to have moved far enough away for it and not be in the middle of an attack for your Pokemon to register, let me move, and I've got to imagine speed's gonna come into play with that. Vmon, I'm
Yeah,
just
and some cooldown's gonna matter.
somewhat, but Vmon's sitting over there doing whatever he wants. XVmon, I mean, is sitting over there doing whatever he wants, dodging as he sees your Porygon going.
You still have you're dodging on wings. Yeah, I think you're miscalculating the Porygon on terms of its speed and like space. I don't. It's basically a space time continuum
No, 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 no. At
thing.
what point
Yes,
in the show or games has a Porygon ever disappeared from here and reappeared over there?
Arceus.
Okay, in one game where God
And
summons it into this part of time and space.
no, because God Himself didn't summon the space. It's literally listed as the virtual Pokemon that can in the entries. You can look at it that it can go between the thing.
I'm not
So
disagreeing with that. I'm saying
because
you
of
put
that, though, like,
exponential
what's
world.
to prevent it from like disappearing from this exact point in
Uh-huh,
space
uh-huh.
and time, and then just reappearing somewhere else instantly? So, like, even if you tried attacking, I could just reappear right next to you, and then you can't dodge faster than instant transmission, basically.
I don't know. Vmon can move pretty quick, or XVmon can move pretty quick and be ready for it.
I don't know.
He's gonna get
That's
hit
the part
three
where
times.
it's very hard to judge because they also prevented us from seeing Porygon in the anime after it was banned. But all the entries
Seems like
dictate that
we don't
it
have
can
real.
travel between really fast.
I would say we don't have enough scientific evidence of what the capabilities of your Pokemon is, so therefore I'm gonna fly up and bite it, and I win.
No, I still think you wouldn't be able to.
Judge,
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking through. I've been scrolling through the Pokedex entries for Porygon Z over here.
not Porygon Z, Porygon 2. He picked 2.
Porygon 2.
You picked
Okay,
2,
okay,
not
that is
Z.
different. That's
You
true.
picked
This is
2.
true. You did say 2 if you could hold items, which I think should
I
be
think it should be
allowed.
allowed.
If we're gonna allow Digi Eggs.
Well, we didn't allow Digieggs. I went without.
Oh, okay. But I still feel like because that doesn't require it doesn't change the nature of the being through the course of
Yep.
the battle. Um, I don't know. I'm personally leaning towards Vmon here. I think Vmon takes it.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So, all right. Now, something I've been thinking about while we're
Okay.
talking. This is not one of the questions that I shared with anybody ahead of time, so this is totally off the
Oh,
cuff.
God.
No prep time. Um, and I'm interested on the perspectives of you two, because as we've been having these conversations, right, I feel like at least I have come to feel that there's a general consensus that like the Digimon games are better. The overall like creature designs and roster are a bit cooler. The stories that they tell in the anime are a bit cooler. They're a bit deeper. And so it's like there's all these points stacking up for Digimon. Yet at the same time, like if somebody held a gun to my head and said you have to pick one of them to stay and the other disappears forever, I'm picking Pokemon to stay. So like what is that mystique that Pokemon has, and would either one of y'all pick differently?
I can tell you the mystique, and I got to think on the which one would I pick. The mystique is called money, and that money comes from Nintendo. That's the
Well,
mystique.
I think it comes back down to what we started the debate with, the simplicity and the nature of what Pokemon does best. It just kind of has the same thing going for it. Yes, you could say that the adults don't get to enjoy the games as much because the story is pretty bland. You could say all these things, but that just leaves Pokemon for greater room for improvement where Digimon already has explored it, and even with all of these things in its toolbox, it doesn't have the same amount of people that are jumping to it, and it should have just as much exposure to it now than ever because the internet's open, but I think the simplicity and the fact that people can just jump into Pokemon and not be confused. They don't have to watch the anime to be addicted to it. They can just there's so many times that people are just play one game and they don't play anything else. They just maybe do the cards. They just do Pokemon Go. They don't even play the main series handheld games. And or some people just watch the anime, and it's because they do so well on the simplistic nature of what it is that I think it's why people would pick Pokemon besides everything. Yes, Andrew did win the debate on every other aspect of the thing, but at the end of the day, people would nuke Digimon at any opportunity given the chance. And
Mm,
I think that's where the trump card is, and that's where I win.
no, 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 no. Actually, no. Hang on, hang on. Hear me out. Hear me out. You asked me this question 10 years ago. I'm saying Pokemon because 10 years ago, Andrew didn't understand what we had from the Digimon story Cyber Sleuth game. Okay. Had I known then about it, I would have been like, Pokemon games are the worst thing ever. This is garbage. Look at how terrible this is. Digimon's been doing it right forever. Okay. Today, I'm picking Digimon. Yes, Pokemon, its game has more room to grow. But if the question here is one stays and the other's gone forever, wiped off the face of the earth,
Yeah,
that
everything.
means your
The card
anime's
games, the
gone,
manga, the
your
anime.
your your manga's gone, your video games are gone, Pokemon Go is gone. Okay, guess who's set up in the perfect position to build Digimon Go? That where all I have to do is encounter wild Digimon
But that
and
means that
stand
you had
them.
to get rid of something in order to
I'm
do
with you.
better.
No,
Or
no, I'm with you.
Pokemon doesn't even have to do anything, and they're already making more money. They're already doing.
It comes down to this,
Oh,
Anthony. Hang on, I give it to you. You're right that today, if you give up Digimon and you only have Pokemon, you've got a lot of good stuff there. If I give up Pokemon and I only have Digimon, I can backfill it and come up with and generate replacements or replicas of some of the Pokemon stuff. Is it going to be as good? No.
But
But
would they actually do it?
yeah. And I'm getting to my point. I'm getting to my point. What's a mechanic they introduced in Pokemon X and Y?
that's the Mega Evolution.
No, but
Megas?
the other mechanic they introduced in Pokemon X and Y, to eliminate HMs,
Ah,
Oh, the ride
the
Pokemon?
ride
yeah.
Pokemon. You have all these Pokemon that in the anime and in the manga for years we're watching people ride their Pokemon. I mean, Ash Ketchum quite literally rides a freaking Dragonite for part of a movie. He rides the back of his water Pokemon through the freaking ocean to get out to Mewtwo. And it took till Pokemon X and Y for us to get a ride Pokemon. And even then, we didn't really get to choose our ride Pokemon. It's just, oh, this is the one you get. Okay, fine, fine. They did it a little bit more in Sun and Moon of ride Pokemon that you could actually ride around the world in a bit more fun of a way. Cool, cool. Where's my ride Pokemon in Sword and Shield?
Yeah, no, yeah, Pokemon, I would agree that they give you things and then they don't bring it back to more
Right.
future games that come
But
afterwards.
they did.
But
They did give it to me in Let's Go, and I think that
yes,
that was probably the best version of ride Pokemon we have until this new Digimon game is coming out. Because one of the most recent trailers, as of the time of recording, has ride Digimon left and right. Everything over basically a certain size. I can hop on the back of, I can hop on the shoulder of, I can hop on the motorcycle of, in the case of the Demi Devimon that spawns a motorcycle to drive around. Pokemon.
It's because of the leather
It's the
boots.
leather boots. But Pokemon went backwards with their ride Pokemon and condensed all of it down into one lizard that you
and
can't
I think the
have on
reason
your
for that,
team to use as a Pokemon if
which
you're
the
riding him.
which the reason I think that they did that is they have different dev teams working on the different games all at
Fair.
once, and so there's no cohesion,
Fair.
which is it goes back to what we were saying earlier that they're trying to release these things for these cycles
Yep.
that they're not doing a good job at
Right.
retaining any of the stuff that they do.
Sure.
But to go back to the what you were saying that if you get rid of Pokemon, then you could backfill all this stuff. Okay, but no one's currently playing Digimon in the masses as it currently exists.
Because
Do
of
you think that
Nintendo's
all of a
money.
sudden all the people that are in Pokemon would jump over to Digimon? I I
I mean,
don't think they
they might
would.
go to Power World for a minute until Power World is
Or they just wouldn't join to something else. I mean,
sure.
the reason that they're in Pokemon for so long is because they were there from the
Sure.
beginning. They enjoyed it over the time. Just getting rid of Pokemon and then expecting every person to then hop onto Digimon, I think
But it's an
it's kind of like a
established
loophole. It's
world
a
of
fallacy.
monster collecting. That's where I think if Pokemon disappeared and everyone went, well, crap, I miss Pokemon, I need something to backfill, they're going to turn towards Digimon as their monster collecting combat game.
But you also
I
got to
could see
remember,
that, but there's more than just that out
There
there. I
is.
mean, you've got the whole Shin Megami
There is.
series. You've got,
and
you
also you
know,
got to remember that a majority of Pokemon fans, a good majority, not maybe the majority, but a good majority are women, which like the cutesy aspect of Pokemon. And I don't think they would hop over to Digimon. You might get some small subset of them that would jump on over to Digimon. I just don't think you would get the numbers that you think that you would get by eliminating it,
Can I
which is
introduce
why
you to Angemon?
even still, I don't think that you get enough of them to hop over.
That's a fair point, and I think it's going back to Tyler's question. I'm picking Digimon because I like where Digimon is. I like where Digimon's going. I like what it's done recently, and that's gonna get some of the clutter and the noise of Pokemon and all the money that it throws at it, and give me more time to spend with the Digimon that I do love and enjoy. So, to your question, Tyler, I picked Digimon for those reasons.
okay, interesting. Honestly, did not expect that answer, but I like the variety. Made for some fun conversation. All right, so here we go. On to the big doozy
Oh
question.
no.
If the full roster
Mhm,
of both series were combined, and you could build your dream team of any six
mhm,
monsters,
mhm.
who would your team be?
I've got mine written down. I'm ready to go.
I mean, I'm not gonna be able to pick any Digimon because I really don't know it enough. So I'm just gonna stick to Pokemon.
Okay.
All right, what's the dream team lineup?
So you're gonna be like, this is kind of like one of those questions that was going around TikTok. It's like, what's your Dream Six that you're gonna build? And it's like, let's be realistic here because you're not gonna find God, the Lord.
Yeah. It can't be Arceus,
But
Mewtwo,
if we're being,
Giratina.
that's what
Why?
it would
I
be
just can't have
because
those on
I
my
mean,
list. You want me to scratch those from my list then?
so basically, he's gonna have gods on his
No,
team.
I
They're
don't. No, no,
basically
no, no,
digital gods.
no,
It's
no,
like,
no. Let me go
Well,
first.
no,
Let me
no,
go
no.
first then.
You're not fighting
No,
each other
no.
though. This is
This is
just
my world, and they all exist, and I get these six to be my companions.
okay,
I will make a note though. In Digimon, I could have potentially 8 in my party and 3 active at combat at a time, based on Cyber Sleuth's story mechanics of you have a certain number of points. I could have only 4 on my team, but I could have 3 in combat at a time. So let me go first. I'll stick to the 6. I'm taking Vmon and Wormmon because, of course, so that I can make Polydramon so they can DNA Digivolve and just be awesome. Okay? I'm also bringing Patamon because Angemon is awesome. What Angemon evolves into after that is even more awesome, and I need that holy light healing magics that Angemon and its evolutions can bring. I'm also bringing a Rowlet, a Mareep, and a Tinkatink because I need that diversity in my team to round out the rest of whatever I may encounter. Rowlet because dang, do I need me some Decidueye. That's the coolest freaking Pokemon. I know everyone's gonna have their favorites, but I love Rowlet, and it honestly, if you take out Dartrix, it seems like a Digimon. You go from this little owl-looking thing to this pretty awesome like ninja samurai type Ronin that uses a bow that is its own leaf. That's very Digimon. Okay. I'm taking Mareep so that, or Flaffy Mareep, whatever, so that it goes into Ampharos. And I'm gonna want that Mega Ampharos with the awesome hair that's just like a little bit more powerful and enhances its stats to make it more
well, if
Digimon.
Dragon Ball has taught me anything, it's
More hair,
that
more
you get
power.
stronger the cooler your hair is.
oh
More hair,
yeah,
more power.
he just had to power up
Guys,
for
what do you
30
think I
minutes.
got a bun? More hair, more power. And then Tinkatink slash Tinkaton looks very Digimon to me. It's one of my favorites, and I think I mentioned in the first half of this conversation. Had we not had Scarlet and Violet, I wouldn't have one of my new favorites, and that's Tinkaton, because it's this cutesy little, just angry thing that's gonna just beat the crap out of someone, and it's a powerful Pokemon because of its typing, powerful Pokemon because of its stats inside the world of Pokemon, but it would fit as a champion level Digimon pretty easily.
Which the whole dex entry on Tinkaton is hilarious
Yep.
because it essentially kills Corviknights to build its hammer
Perfect. Let's go.
because
Get rid of those
Corviknight used
Corviknights.
to eat the small forms little whatever pebble rock thing, whatever that it had, metallic thing. It used to eat it, so it's like it got revenge by then just well, I'm gonna make my big hammer out of its body.
Yep. So that's my six, and mainly because I want Vmon to become X Vmon and Wormmon to become Stingmon, and the two of them to DNA Digivolve and become this just awesome monster. That's what I need. Patamon's gonna be there to do some really cool stuff, and then the three Pokemon just to like balance out the team.
Nice,
Respect.
All right, so
nice.
give me God, and
No, no, I will stick to normal things that I could actually acquire in a normal day operation. I've given this list before, and I tried keeping it close to my person, as a software engineer. So I start with Porygon for sure, Porygon 2. Um, Not Z because Z is literally also virus encoded, and I don't need it glitching everything that comes close to it in terms of anything computer wise. So two because it's stable. Rodon because it can turn into many different appliances, so I
smart,
can
very smart. Yep,
travel and make it do a lot of things for me.
yep, I like that.
Um, Metagross because it's basically a supercomputer, so it just works in combination to everything. But that's it on the nerdy side of things for my quality of life. Then I need a flyer, which I've always kind of liked Flygon in its design. So I'm gonna do Flygon for that. And then for my water swimmer, I'm gonna do a Milotic because I really like that line. And then I'm gonna end it with one of my favorite Pokemon to run, just because it's cool. It's good typing. It's Chandelure. It's a Ghost Fire type. It gives me coverage for a bunch of the other stuff, and I think I makes my team a little bit well rounded.
There we go.
Very nice. Very
My team
nice.
kicks your team's butt.
Well, well, as far as the debate goes, that's going to do it for the questions that I have for our lovely contestants here. So let us know in the comments, who do you think won? Why do you think they won? And let us know who's your favorite. Who do you think's the best? Which of these series do you think is the one that you would stick with? And why is it Yu-Gi-Oh? Let us know. We're interested to hear.
And make sure you write down that Nintendo screwed me, because this is a tough, position to try to battle against.
I love, Tyler, that you're trying to close it with why is it Yu-Gi-Oh? And that's like hardly been a topic of conversation today. So thank you for that. No, I think this was good. And I knew going into this that Digimon has a lot of good points for it when you look at it holistically, but Digimon hasn't had as many like hits as Pokemon. I do think that part of that is because Pokemon's had the funding and the backing of Nintendo pushing it, marketing it to children, making it accessible for kids. So they got us early, they held on to us and the generation after us and the generation after them. Whereas Digimon's like, well, we can grow up, we can tell a more adult story, we can do this, and it's there's a lot to it there. But no, I think this has been good. I agree with Tyler. If you're listening into this, tell us which one's your favorite and why it's not Yu-Gi-Oh. We can get into that later of Japanese anime that became a game in some form or fashion. Which one has the best card game? It's Magic, not Yu-Gi-Oh. And thanks guys for hanging out with me today. Thanks for going through this with us. Thanks for having these fun debates of which one's better and why is it Digimon. It's not Yu-Gi-Oh. It's not Pokemon. We all know it's Digimon. It's fine.
Clearly, the correct answer is Superman. Get it right.
All right, there, buddy. You've already had your chance to shine as a Superman fan. Well, fans, if you've listened in this far and you probably listened into the first one, go comment on the first half of this conversation. Tell Tyler he needs to open something, and maybe we'll do a fun little video of just Tyler opening this so that we can go, haha, yes, he's opened one of his figures. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again, guys, for joining us and having this conversation with us today. Um, love all of our fans out there. Please comment in on this one on which one's your favorite and why. I'm not going to hate you when you say it's Pokemon. I understand it's the more popular series. I will have.
He will hate you if you say Yu-Gi-Oh, though.
I can't hate on Yu-Gi-Oh. That was my first real card game, but that's a topic for another day. Leave a comment if you want us to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm all for it. Just say when. Be sure to follow on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, and honestly, wherever you get your podcasts. Because as of the time of recording this one, I've officially got them out a lot of different places, which is really cool. And I'm starting to be able to share it with a bunch of other people. Tell us what else you want us to talk about. Tell us your thoughts on this one. Just leave those comments. It helps so much. Leave a like on Instagram when you see the little videos popping up. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day and keep nerding out.